All right, we are back at it for Unit 3, George Washington's Presidency, or as I can already hear you in the back of my mind saying, Georgie. We're going to call it Washington's Presidency from here on out. Okay, let's check out what questions we have for Section 1. Oh, this is my favorite. Define precedent. What the heck is a precedent? Precedent, let's see what they give you here, is an action that someone takes that other people follow as a tradition or policy. So it's something that we do once, it is the example, and then we keep doing it, just like that. Name and explain 3 precedents by Washington. All right, look at that. 3 precedents of Washington. They give it to you right there. The farewell address, the Cabinet of Advisors, and the Proclamation of Neutrality. Remember, no entangling alliances is exactly what he says. The entangling alliances would send us into future wars. We know we don't listen to this because we just went over World War I, and we're going to do World War II here soon too. Okie dokie. I guess I sold the goose on that one. Why did Washington establish the foreign policy of neutrality? We want to avoid future conflicts. What were Washington's reasons for stepping down after his second term? So, the reason he steps down and he doesn't go ahead and become a third-term president, even though he could, he wanted to promote that democracy that the country so much loved and created, and he wanted to prevent tyranny. That's another precedent that he set. Why did farmers rebel during the Whiskey Rebellion? The farmers didn't want to pay taxes. Same thing as the Shays Rebellion. We didn't want to pay taxes. Nobody likes taxes, so they rebelled. How did Washington react to the rebellion, and what did that prove? So the reaction was to send down the state militias to enforce the laws, and that proved that we now have a strong federal government. Strong federal government. And it proves that our Constitution now is strong, it is true, it is better than the Articles of Confederation. So we're looking for 4 components to Hamilton's financial plan of security. Look at that, they label them nice for you. Establish the nation's credit, create the national bank, place an excise tax on whiskey, which just means we're taxing the grain that's needed to make whiskey, and then we're promoting protective tariffs for U.S. business against foreign business, which just means we support American manufacturing. Alrighty, now we are on to Section 2, Hamilton versus Jefferson. Let's take a look down at the questions. What was the first major debate that faced the new nation? That's going to be your Federalist versus the Anti-Federalist, and weak government versus strong government. That's our first one. The Federalists, that root word there, federal, believe in a strong federal government. So what in the Constitution did Federalists use? Oop, that's not the highlighter. Did Federalists use to support their beliefs? Well, they are going to say we've got the Supremacy Clause, which said that we are dividing the power between the federal and state government, giving the federal government supremacy because that's the supreme power of the land. What did the Anti-Federalists believe? The Anti-Federalists are going to say that we need a Bill of rights. It's not that they didn't like the Constitution, they just believed that it needed something added to it. What, in the addition of the Constitution, did Anti-Federalists use to support their beliefs? So we are saying that specifically the 10th Amendment illustrates what the Anti-Federalists believed, because it basically says anything that's not written down here, any powers that are not specifically given to the federal government, those go to the state governments. Who led the Federalists? Federalist Alexander Hamilton. And then I believe the next question says, describe 3 of the Federalist beliefs. You can put any of these in your own words. And then the next question is going to ask you who leads the Republicans. That's going to be Thomas Jefferson. And then these are going to be those beliefs that you can summarize. The debate between these 2 factions created the first what? And that is going to be political parties. Sweet. Section 3, the Second Presidency. John Adams. The Alien and Sedition Acts. The Alien and Sedition Acts are going to limit free speech and freedom of the press because we were scared about the people revolting against the government because in France there was a revolution going on. Which amendment of the Bill of Rights did this impact? We know that that's the First Amendment. How did the Republicans, Jefferson and Madison, react to these measures? Jefferson and Madison are going to write the Virginia and Kentucky resolutions, which say that individuals and state government rights are superior to the federal government. They can't just be taken away. Doesn't matter what's going on. What issue of the young government do these ideas reflect? These are going to continue to show us the tensions between the federal government and the rights of the people in the state government. What amendment of the Bill of Rights addresses this issue? And from the section above, that is the 10th Amendment. And that is the end of Section 3. Tune in next time for Unit 4.